1914 and 1917. And his conclusion, and the conclusion of Zinoviev as well, who wrote a very good article called The Social Roots of Opportunism that was presented to the early conferences of the Comintern, was that it was the social composition of the parties of the Second International that led them to adaptation to their own national bourgeoisies. That fundamentally these had been transformed from parties of workers into parties of bureaucrats, parties of state employees, parties of small shopkeepers, and parties of small business people and small property owners who did not reflect the line of march of the proletariat to power, did not reflect the program outlined in the Communist Manifesto, and that this social composition was the material basis for the betrayals of the Second International. And that's one reason why when the Bolsheviks led the movement to form the Comintern, the Third International, they had such a strict series of criteria for what a party could be in a particular country and become a member of the Comintern.
Yeah, had to have the 21 points, weren't they?
Yeah, but the real victory of Lenin and the real victory of the Bolshevik Party was, and for 91 years now, this has been the struggle all over the world, including in this country, is to build parties that are not only proletarian and communist in program, but to build parties that are proletarian in their composition, that are made up of worker Bolsheviks who are dedicated to this program and subordinate everything else to that program, and reject the whole idea that there is a minimum and a maximum program, but understand that there is only one program, a transitional program, to lead from everyday struggles to a series of widening insights into the causes of the current crisis and how it can only be overcome by a working class fight for power. And I think those are the critical things, critical insights that the Bolsheviks were able to draw from the demise of the Second International.
Well, one thing you touched on about how the socialist parties of the Second International lost their base. I know that's one thing that's touched on. There's a book on the Labour Party written by a Marxist named Harpel Brar. In it he talks about how the Labour Party of Britain, like we talked about with guilds, how they were for the skilled workers and all that. The Labour Party of Britain made a point of excluding workers who were in non-skilled and non-white workers from the Labour Party. It was the party of the upper, well-paid workers of Britain. It was not the party of the workers from India, or, of Indian heritage, the Irish workers. It was the party of the white British homeland workers only, and they made a point of the exclusion. And if you look at it, even before Tony Blair took over the Labour Party, it was not a communist party. It was not even not a genuine socialist party. If you look at its platform, it supported apartheid in South Africa overwhelmingly. It supported the Vietnam War. It supported all these.
Supported the Malvinas invasion, which is about as diabolically imperialistic as you can get.
What was this?
The Falklands.
Yeah, the British Labour Party, was an imperialist party. It just believed. It was it had socialist rhetoric, and it talked about the workers and all that, and how we need socialism. But it was socialism mixed with racism, colonialism, and all these kinds of right-wing concepts.
Well, I think the British Labour Party today would be a party with which Eduard Bernstein or Karl Kautsky would be intimately familiar.
Yeah.
They would be on completely familiar ground if they went to the fall convention of the British Labour Party, and they would know exactly what these people were talking about, which is class collaboration, subordination of struggles to the national consent, to a national labor boss alliance, to align your country to win out over another country as well. Another thing I wanted to bring up was the whole question of colonialism and Also the question of black liberation. The Second International, the Socialist Party in the United States, played a very negative role on the black question in the United States, and I know you're going to get to this in a later class.
Mm-hmm.
But even Debs said the Socialist Party doesn't have a special program for the Philippines or Cuba or Puerto Rico or the black nationality in the United States. We can't, that just divides us. We all have to be for the same program of socialism. That's the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, even Victor Berger, who was the right-wing section of the Socialist Party in the United States, he famously, the Second International, in Europe, demanded that the Socialist Party take a position on lynching, which was going on all throughout the U.S. in post-Civil War. And so, reluctantly, they came out with this statement that said, capitalism produces the kind of, is responsible for producing the kind of antisocial elements who would then have to be lynched. That was their statement on lynching.
Producing the antisocial elements which have to be lynched.
Right, so essentially, they were for lynching, but lynching is caused by capitalism, because capitalism produces people of color and Jewish people and people who end up being lynched. So the way to get rid of lynching is get rid of capitalism that makes it necessary.
It's the same sort of self-satisfied rationalizations that we get today from the academics and pundits on TV about the grave crises facing oppressed nationalities in this country.